Hey you all, Carpetbagger here, coming to you live from the great state of Texas, more specifically Wichita Falls. And even more specifically than that, I'm in front of the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I've been wanting to go to this for years. One of the problems is it keeps moving around the country. It was originally in Iowa, then I moved to New York State, and then I moved again here to Wichita Falls, Texas, and I finally caught up with it. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge professional wrestling fan. I fell in love when I saw a Saturday night's main event featuring the Ultimate Warrior versus Sergeant Slaughter, run-ins by The Undertaker and Hulk Hogan. I saw that and I knew this was true entertainment, and I'm super excited about going in here. I've been involved in some independent wrestling myself, and this should be really, really good. Follow me. Here's a Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame fun fact of the week. In honor of his 60th birthday this week, Michael P.S. Hayes of the Fabulous Freebirds was trained by Alpha of the Wild Samoans. Now you can ring a ring bell here. There's a piece of ring rope from the Cow Palace. Yeah, right there, got it. NWA Heavyweight Championship.
10 pounds of gold.
10 pounds of gold. Here's the inductees for 2017. Looks like Mick Foley, Tatsumi Fujinami. Wrestling belts. It's world class. There's the Texas Heavyweight Wrestling Champion. I love this because it's a wrestling belt and it's actually got roadside attractions on it. Look at that, his tugboat. That's his tugboat hat right there. He was also known as the Shockmaster and one of the most infamous pro wrestling debuts of all time. This is the Assassins, Joe Hamilton. Just a lot of really cool action figures. There's King Kong Bundy, we lost recently. Some Beanie Babies from the Attitude Era. There's Al Snow holding a head. His gimmick is he held a mannequin head. And then there's Val Venus Bear, whose gimmick was that he was a pornographic actor. Just a pair of the Nasty Boys sunglasses. When they used to shove people in each other's armpits. Oh, I love this. This is a guitar that was busted over Buff Bagwell's head by Jeff Jarrett. Shows him doing it right there. Oh, so cool. It's hard to believe that the artifacts are just right here. You're not supposed to touch them, of course. This is a genuine Legion of Doom spikes. Known as the Road Warriors. Brutus the Barber Beefcake. There's his ring gear there and his boots. He came to the ring with these hedge clippers. Would cut his opponent's hair after the match. There's one of Sergeant Slaughter's hats. Oh wow, so many good artifacts here. It's the mysterious Mr. Wrestling 2. There's his robe and mask. All the amazing wrestlers have been inducted in the Hall of Fame here. There's Bruiser Brody. There, Baron Von Raschke. Junkyard Dog. Wild Samoans. Even Vince McMahon himself is in this particular Hall of Fame. He's not even in his own Hall of Fame. We have George the Animal Steel. Terry Funk, Harley Race, Hulk Hogan, over here Andre the Giant, Ricky Steamboat, frickin' Dusty Rhodes' boots. Oh my goodness. Here's the Super Destroyer. I think I saw him wrestle a bear once, not in person, but on YouTube. Look at all these old belts. I love this classic design they have to them. There's the Missing Link and his gear down here. Of course, the Fabulous Freebirds, the first wrestlers to ever have entrance music. And there's their flashy vest that they'd wear to the ring. This is one of the biggest wrestling families here in Texas, the Von Erich family. You can see they actually have their own board game. I mean, how popular do you have to be to have your own board game? He's doing the classic Iron Claw there. It looks like One Man Gang is on the receiving end.
basically, things to do in Wichita Falls.
Okay, this is a big deal to me personally. This is probably my favorite wrestler of all time, Mick Foley. And I have not only his Dude Love shirt, but his Mankind shirt. And, he had several different gimmicks or personas that he used over the years. My favorite was always Mankind. It's kind of this psycho lunatic gimmick. Kind of evolved into like a different kind of good guy character over the years. Of course, Dude Love was his alter ego, what he envisioned himself to be. Of course, Mick Foley was the first wrestler to ever hit the New York selling top 10 list. And there's his manuscripts. He'd actually write his books by hand on pads of paper. Apparently, he has donated them here to the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. That's amazing. There's the outfit of Stan Hansen, the legendary cowboy wrestler, inspired generations and generations of other cowboy-themed wrestling gimmicks. These tights belong to legendary British wrestler Chris Adams. Sir Oliver Humperdinck's jacket. This is Pat Patterson's jacket. He's the first ever Intercontinental Champion of WWF, and he was often seen in the Attitude Era as one of Mr. McMahon's goons. Here's a stand-up tanning booth that was used by apparently many different wrestlers over the years. It's the Midnight Express. Check out this wrestling toy. Abdullah the Butcher drenched with blood. Here's the 2018 inductees. You can see Sting, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Blowing me away just how many artifacts are just sitting out here. All these different amazing pieces of clothing. This robe worn by Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful. This would be part of Demolition Axe's ring entrance gear. There's a mask right there. Look at this. Shirt worn by Sheiky Baby himself, the Iron Sheik. And a Hawaiian shirt worn by Coco Beware. It's Greg Valentine's robe. It's kind of a controversial wrestler. Jimmy Snuka, one of the greats of all time, but had a very checkered past. There's some elbow pads and a jersey donated by The Rock. Now this is a quilt I can get behind, a pro wrestling quilt. It's got Roddy Piper on it, Mad Dog and Butcher Vachon. Some famed wrestling masks include one worn by Rey Mysterio Jr. I don't know if this is supposed to be like a wrestling training dummy. Maybe you get in there and wrestle with it. I know these toys are like wrestling buddies from the 90s and 80s. Some classic wrestlers there: Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, DDP. So this Papa Shango, when he was in wrestling, he actually put a voodoo curse on the Ultimate Warrior that made green goo run from his forehead and made him vomit. And I was watching at home, and I was so scared, I started shaking. I was a little kid, but still. It's like a little kids section here. They have some coloring pages, some little rings. Maybe some wrestling games. Yeah, they can play SmackDown versus Raw on Wii. There's James J. Dillon, who was the manager of the Four Horsemen, the wrestling stable, generally led by Ric Flair. One of the best big men of all time, Bam Bam Bigelow. There's his fire-based ring attire. This may have been some of his early ring attire right there. There's one of Hillbilly Jim's horseshoes that he would wear on his neck. Now, don't judge me, but this is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And this is Doink the Clown. And I'm not talking about the silly, happy Doink that was in later years. The evil Doink, who was played by a wrestler named Matt Bourne. And he played the gimmick perfectly. It was like an evil clown, almost like a Pennywise-inspired clown. And at first he appeared in the audience like a clown, joking with the kids, spraying people with a flower. And then, his pranks would get more and more cruel. And he started playing pranks on the wrestlers. And then like, he got challenged to a match, and he debuted, and he was like this amazing technical wrestler. Like, it never made any sense. Like, who was he? Where he come from? How do you know how to wrestle so good? And it was just, he had the best theme music. Oh, Doink the Clown, one of my absolute favorites, I swear to God. Of course, Russian villains were always a huge part of 80s wrestling during the Cold War. And all bad guys from the Middle East wore shoes like this. There's some locker room with some wrestling equipment. There's a mask made from the face of George the Animal Steel. And look, there is a turnbuckle. He was famous for actually eating the turnbuckles after the matches. It's like some of these ultra old school wrestlers here. This guy, Jim Goon Henry, is tearing up phone book in half. It's a Hulk Hogan salt and pepper shaker. Yeah, back in the 80s, they would turn Hulk Hogan into anything. You could even bake yourself a Hulk Hogan shaped cake. Some of Bret Hart's sunglasses. And they do have a wrestling ring right here in the center of the museum, but I guess you can't wrestle in it because it's full of memorabilia. I can hardly believe this. We got Jim Martell, his ring jacket. He was known as the Model, and he would spray perfume on other wrestlers because he thought they were smelly, and the perfume was called Arrogance. And there is a bottle of Arrogance. I never thought I would see a bottle of Arrogance with my own two eyes. Kamala, the Ugandan giant, had like this wild African tribesman gimmick. And there is his loincloth. There's Kevin Sullivan back when he had like a Satan gimmick of his t-shirts. There's Kevin Sullivan's golden spike that he would use as a foreign object. Of course, Sabu, known as one of the most insane risk-taking wrestlers of all time. There's a chunk of a broken table that he smashed through. Unpredictable Johnny Rodz. He's actually a trainer, and he's trained like a ton of wrestlers in New York, even though he was not a household name himself.
But they mainly wrestled in the southern part. And I like those. I was the first pro in the ring with Sean.
One of the classic wrestling weddings was when this wedding dress owned by Joyce Frazier, she married Uncle Elmer, who was one of Hillbilly Jim's relatives. I guess they had a whole hillbilly clan. Some of the famous female wrestlers. There's Leilani Kai. Some of the fabulous Moolah's gear. She, of course, was, maybe is becoming a more controversial character in the past couple of years. There's her glasses for some of her behavior. She held the title for like 40 years, the women's title. And one of the biggest wrestlers in the 90s, no doubt, was Chyna. She was one of the first women to wrestle men in the WWF. She actually won the Intercontinental Championship. There is one of Chyna's outfits. There's short sleeve Samson's gear. He's one of the little people wrestlers.
Hey, I need to buy a pair of pliers. I want the best pair of pliers you have in the store.
Yeah, look at that women's championship. It actually says ladies, NWA Ladies Championship. It's a glow action figure there. Look at this. The frickin' one of Hacksaw Jim Duggan's 2x4s. Most iconic. A lot of wrestlers would carry items to the ring. I think this is one of the most iconic is Jim Duggan's 2x4.
I don't think you do much to hurt it, but...
So this was absolutely amazing. WWE, they have a Hall of Fame, and for whatever reason, they don't have a physical Hall of Fame. It's just a page on their website. They induct different people every year. I'm not talking to the gentleman here, the president of the committee that operates this museum. It's independently operated. It's not owned by one person. It's not a private collection. But anyway, he was explaining that all the Hall of Famers get to vote on the new inductees, and every year they induct people from different eras, like people from early as like the early 1900s or the 20s. They have like the television era and then the modern era, and they pick people from different categories every year, and then they send the ballots out to the actual previous Hall of Famers who vote on that. And it's really interesting because they got so much good stuff in there. And the WWE, you know, they have a huge warehouse full of stuff that they're kind of hoarding away, and they've never built their Hall of Fame for whatever reason. You know, I would love to see that, but this is pretty much, they do it right here. This is how you do a Hall of Fame. This is just pieces of clothing, pieces of history from almost every wrestler that you could possibly imagine. A definite massive thumbs up. They're doing their induction in May, which I wish I could be here. I don't think I can, but maybe one year I'll come out here to the Wichita Falls, the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Appreciate you guys watching. If you'd like to see other locations I've been to, I have an interactive map in the description that'll show you all the places I've been, and you can tell me where I need to go. Also, if you'd like to contribute to the channel, consider buying a t-shirt, consider donating to Patreon. $3 or more will get you a postcard once a month. But for now, this one's in the bag.